Welcome back to Better Developer Docs. In this video, I'm going to show you a raw and very live process for speeding up your page load time on your WordPress site using all of these various methods. Almost all of these methods are free. Well, they actually all are free, but sometimes there are paid versions of, for example, a CDN or various plugins. So depending on your needs, you might have to pay something, but basically I'm going to do this tutorial with the free versions of everything so you can follow along. And we're going to take this website here, which is a website about ayahuasca, and I work on it from time to time. And we ran a speed test on the homepage. This website's basically just a blog site. It doesn't really do much else apart from just have people view the blogs, maybe fill out a contact form. It's fairly simple in its functionality. So yeah, when we run a speed test, we can see that Google Page Speed Insights is telling us that we failed, so that's not very good. We got a 74 out of 100 for performance. So obviously some issues, and Google is telling us that we have these opportunities to improve. So these are kind of developer phrases. So if you're not familiar with what these mean, you don't really have to worry about it, because the process that I'm going to take you through will explain and minify the effects of these things. And hopefully we can get a score up into the 90s. I also use another page speed tool called Pingdom Page Speed Tools, website speed test. And I like to use this one because it gives me slightly different stats. So I've got 2.3 megabytes there and 45 requests and a 2.42 second load time on desktop. Google PageSpeed gives you mobile and desktop scores. So I got 98 on desktop, but most of the traffic for this particular site and sites in general from mobile. So I happen to know that there's around 75% of traffic coming from mobile to this site. So it's actually not so important to worry about desktop and laptop performance as it is mobile. So all the improvements that we're going to make today will help at all device sizes. However, mobile is the least powered in terms of its hardware and processors and stuff like that. So it takes the longest to process a website. So that's why we focus on that, and then all the benefits trickle down to the larger, more powerful devices. So the first thing we're going to do in the list is just check that it has or does not have a CDN. So I happen to know that this website does actually have a CDN, but the way you could check this is just to go to the plugin area and just have a look for the Cloudflare or CDN plugin. I'm going to use Cloudflare as a specific CDN, but there's other brands, so you can check that. The other thing we could do is to check the name servers with Whois, and that would also tell us where the name servers are for this particular site, and if the name servers are that of Cloudflare, then we know that the CDN is in fact working. Okay, so we can see here under the name servers, we see Andy.ns.cloudflare and Marjorie.ns.cloudflare, which means that yes, this site is running on Cloudflare CDN. So we can check that off the list, we are using a CDN. A CDN is going to help us to minify resources and get our site files to our browsers, our users' browsers much more quickly. I actually set up or created another video to show you how to install Cloudflare CDN on your WordPress site. So look for the card in the top of your screen now to view that if you need to learn how to do that as well. The next thing I'm going to have a look at is images. And when we go to this site, some of these posts have images, but some of them don't. So yeah, these images here, I suspect, yeah. So when we go to Pingdom Page Speed Tools, it's telling us that 73% or 1.7 megabytes of the total page size is images. So we could do some stuff there in order to reduce the page size and therefore the page speed in general. So what I might do is there's a couple things that we could do here. Let's tackle the actual images themselves, although there are some design things that we could do with the images also. For example, we could remove these images completely if we really wanted to, which is possible in the design, but images are also quite nice to have. So we're going to leave them in, but see if we can optimize them. So the first thing I'm going to do is go into the settings for media, and I'm just going to check what the largest size is. It's 600 by 200, but this image is actually rendering at around 856 by 535. So it also tells us there that this particular file is 235 kilobytes. So what I'm doing here is just looking at the actual sizes of the images and seeing how big they display on the site, because if they are larger than required, yeah, so it looks like the actual size of this image uploaded is 1680, but it doesn't seem to ever render above 12 or around 1300. So what we could actually do is resize all of these images to be 1300 max. And I suspect that that is something that we could do fairly easily. So I'm going to go back to plugins, and I'm going to see if I can find a plugin that will help me to resize all these images. So there's one called, I think it's called Bulk Resize. So I'm just having a look at this. It's got a lot of installations, and it was updated recently, so I'm guessing that it's a fairly decent plugin from the get-go. So I'm just trying to find where to access this. There you go. Settings, resize image upload. So I'm going to change this to 1300 because that's where it. That's where I saw that this. Where is it? This image is around about 1300. So I'm going to. Where is it? Yeah. So if we hovered back over that, it was actually 1680 wide. So I'm going to resize all of those images to a little bit less. And I'm just looking here at the other settings. And I'm going to leave the compression level, and I'm going to say to convert PNG to JPEG under certain conditions, because that JPEGs are actually a slightly smaller file size. Okay, so I'm just double checking to. So I think that's probably working in the background. It does say that it does that automatically. So I have set I've set that to 1300. So I think that's just going to work in the background. And what I might do is just clear all my caches and then retest. But actually, now that I think about it, resizing images probably takes a little bit longer to do in the background. So I'm actually going to pause here and come back to check these later. Okay, so I've cleared all the caches, and I'm just going to reload this page, and then I'm going to check the image size that's presented and just check if it's worked or not. So what I'm going to do, okay, that's probably why. So this image is actually it looks like this image is only 691 pixels wide, which is slightly confusing because it's saying that it's actually rendered here at a larger size. So this is 691, okay. So what that actually means is that this resize image process won't actually work because I've set this to 1300 and those images are actually smaller than that at 691. So those will not actually resize. I could do a couple things from here. I could try and resize these images to be even smaller if I wanted to, or I could render less blog posts on this page, and that would therefore reduce the amount of images on the page as well. So what I'm just going to do is going to uninstall this plugin because I don't like to leave plugins as being in my site. If I'm not using them, you actually reduce the surface area of attack, possible attack for hackers if you remove all the stuff that you don't actually need. So yeah, going to remove that one, and then what I'm going to do is see if I can customize how many blogs are actually shown on that homepage. So when I go here, I'm just going to have a look around the theme settings, homepage settings. So it does have static posts, but it doesn't actually show us how many posts are shown. So what I might do is just go back to the dashboard and I'm going to go to pages and I'm going to go and find the home page, which is over here. I think it's this one. So I've got this, this is a short code here. And I just want to see if this is a WordPress short code. Yeah, I have a feeling that that's not a standard, short code for WordPress. So it might be a custom one. And so what I'm going to do is just go over to the theme. I'm going to have a look here. Be like a custom short code in here, but there doesn't seem to be. So what I'm going to do is just have a look at the actual code and see if I can find some kind of hint as to where these are coming from. So I'm actually going to remove it and update it. And then I'm going to load this again and see what happens. So I still get all that stuff, but I also have caches. So I'm just going to So I'm just going to wait the 30 seconds for this cache to clear, and then I'm going to see if I can get these posts to stop being printed to screen. And the reason that I'm doing that is because I just edited this page to remove that shortcode where I thought the posts were coming from. And if they're actually coming from there, then I should see all these disappear really. And in that way, I am testing whether or not that shortcode is responsible for printing out these posts or not. Because if it's not, then I need to find another place to edit how many of these posts are being printed to screen. Because what I want to do is actually see if I can get less of these posts to print out, and thereby reduce the amount of images being shown on the page. Okay, so that still is printing everything to screen, I think. So I wonder if this might not be controlling that page. This might be the wrong page to edit. Because there was actually two home pages, and I clicked on the second one. So let's click on this one. Okay, so with the images, I actually found that they are actually far too big for the design. So actually, what I did is I went to the media area, and I actually just looked up the images manually. Clicked on edit, and you can see that the original dimension is 1680. So what I do want to do is go back to plugins, and I'm going to try this other plugin called Insanity, and see if I can resize these images with this plugin. The previous one either didn't work or didn't or was processing in the background and needed more time to kind of work. So what I'm going to do here is put 1300 as the max width, and this was because our page displayed these images at around about this as the largest width. I'm gonna leave the height variable because that will just kind of work out if we control the height. Just checking these settings here. So I'm going to save those changes, and then I'm going to hit start resizing all images. Okay, so we can see that this is now working. So what I'm going to do is pause the video and let this complete. Then I'm going to clear all the caches, and then I'm going to retest the page speed in our tools, and hopefully we will see this number decrease significantly. So yeah, we'll come back and check on the progress soon. Okay, so I've gone back and checked the plugin, and if you scroll down the bottom, it says that it's finished resizing. These are all the images that it either skipped or actually did work on. Most of them it actually skipped, huh? So it gives you some information there. What I'm going to do is then clear all the different caches that we have. Actually, you don't need to clear that one. I'm going to purge the Cloudflare cache, and then I'm going to wait 30 seconds and then retest. 15 feet away from me.
Right.
So you're the poor
Right.
white bitch problem?
A man that inhabits the class that your husband is appropriating was just stabbed to death in a bar fight.
You want to know why? Because he's strung out on
Because
Roxy's.
his father was a meth addict.
And beat him without mercy. What, is this Martin Henderson? Oh, yeah. He's gorgeous.
Guy.
All right, Jacob. Stop, dude. He's going through a lot. His daughter's fake sick.
Yeah, right.
His daughter's going from the producers of Heaven is for Real.
Unfortunately, the tests confirm that she's very ill.
Are they in
There's
Boston?
currently no cure for Anna's condition.
Doctor, please, this
Yeah,
is
can you hear that Boston accent?
Okay, so I just went back and looked at the dimensions, and it seems that this particular one has been changed, so that's good. We might see a small decrease in our page speed, so we're just going to run another test. Okay, so we did see a slight decrease in the image sizes, but it wasn't super significant. So what we could do from here is we could make the decision to go ahead and change the design of this site such that either these images were not presented at all and then reduce the page size that way, or just change the design so that these images are smaller, and then we could resize them to a much smaller size with our Insanity plugin, and therefore get an a much more significant sort of decrease. But yeah, for the moment, I'm going to leave it like that. But you could go down that road if you wanted to. So just to be clear, if we wanted to change the design of this page, what I might suggest doing is to completely remove this image from the blog posts themselves, because this is the largest that these images actually show at. And so what we could do from there, if we remove that, then the next largest place that it displays at is here, which is significantly smaller than the original size we tried to upload at. So this one's been rendered at 856. So we could then resize all the images to 856 or approximate to that. And that would probably save us a significant or a much more significant amount of size on the images. The only thing would be is to figure out how to turn this off. So what I'm going to do is just check the customize link for this theme, and sometimes in here there is an option to remove the post settings. Yeah, so here we have enable and disable featured image. So if I remove that, right, that actually removes it from the entire from the home page as well. So if you wanted to do that, you could. I was kind of hoping that it would remove it from the post page and not the home page as well. So I'm just going over these settings to make sure there's no option for me to remove that. So these are the single post settings. Okay, so I might have to disable on I'll disable on the featured post here. And then I will go back to theme layout. No, sorry, it was post settings, I think. And then I'm going to enable that on the home page. So if I go back to the home page here, hopefully I'll see the images come back. Yeah, so I can see them here. So I'm going to publish that, and then I'm going to go back to Insanity, and I'm going to make this 900, and I'm going to save changes. Then I'm going to say start resizing all images. And then I'm just going to let this do its thing and then come back and retest after having resized all these images. Okay, so I've resized the images again with a maximum width of 900. It's complete, and so I'm just going to clear the caches again before I retest, which is kind of annoying, but that's what I'm doing. So I'm just going to wait 30 seconds and then I'm going to retest. Okay, so I'm just going to reload this page. We can see that the image is gone there, but we do have the images on the home page, which is the one that we're testing. There we go. And if I was to refresh this, we should hopefully see that down to 900. Yeah, so hopefully we've made some improvements. And I am going to retest this one. So the last one we had a very minimal reduction of 0.1 megabytes. So I'm going to retest now, and I might as well actually retest this one too. So I'm just going to say analyze, start that again. And what did we get here? Okay, so we did improve our page slightly to 81 from 74 from the images, it seems. So that's looking positive. And we can see there that we've gone from, I think it was 2.3 down to 1.9. So that's 0.4 saved. And we can see there that that's also reflected here. So yeah, playing around with the design and the images can get us a little bit more streamlined of a website. Okay, so the next thing we're going to have a look at is reducing the calls to the server. Calls to the server is another way of saying requests, which is measuring this number here. So let's have a look at the home page in our CMS. And what we've got a plugin working, which is called Asset Cleanup Plugin. And what that does is that on the home page, it shows us which plugins are loading what particular files on our site. So we can see here that there seems to be 26. Contact form 7 is being unloaded, so removing that. GDPR, we kind of need that legally, even though it's kind of annoying to have an extra 3 requests for it. That's our WordPress, WordFence security. There's actually not that much that I want to remove from this page, but if we were to remove something, you could just basically see the plugin here, understand if it's something that you want to remove or not, and then you've got 4 options. You can unload this particular file from just this particular page. You can unload it everywhere on the site, or you could unload it just on the pages as opposed to post pages. And then the 4th option is you could completely uninstall this plugin if it was not being used at all on the site. So just to show you the effect that might have is I could remove these from everywhere on the site, hit update. So then I'm going to delete this cache, which is done. And then I'm going to delete this other cache, which is done. And then I can wait 30 seconds and retest. Given that I am getting sick of clearing multiple caches, I might just pause, see if I can pause. Yeah, so it's saying that there's a developer mode, which I could turn on. So I'm just going to see if I can figure out how to do that, because I'm sick of having to purge this cache each time. It's kind of crazy. So at the end of this process, I'm going to have to turn that back on. But then I guess actually then I'm not going to see the kind of improvements, because, oh no, that's just bypassing the cache. Yeah, okay, let's leave that on and see what happens. So I just like to, in between tests, I just like to actually reload the page manually. It's a bit superstitious, but I just like to do that, falling into the habit. So now I'm gonna do another test, and what we should see is that should reduce by a certain, or by 3, and then that should give us a slight page speed improvement. Yeah, so we actually got that down to 42, which is good. We could run another test over here just to confirm. I'm not sure if this will make a large impact over on Google Page Speed Insights. 3 requests is not a lot, but it is a small amount. So yeah, we're getting around about the same. This figure will oscillate around. It won't always be the exact same if you're doing multiple tests like this. So what I do there in that case is that I just pay attention to the fundamentals. So we've got 3 less requests and actually 0.1 less page size. So really that was just to demonstrate how you can use Asset Cleanup plugin to reduce requests. In this particular case, I actually want to keep the files from the GDPR plugin, because that's an actual legal requirement. So yeah, there you go. And then I'm just gonna clear that one cache now. Remember, we put the Cloudflare cache into developer mode, so we don't need to do anything there. But yeah, that's more or less how you would go about figuring out how many requests there are, right? So it's that number, and then using the Asset Cleanup plugin to reduce those even further, either by unloading them just on that particular page site-wide or on the particular page type. And in the case that you have a plugin which you don't use at all and is inactive and you don't use or you don't want to use, or maybe even if it's adding too many requests to the page, you can just remove the plugin completely from the plugins directory and take the improvements in page speed. So the next thing I want to look at is using a cache plugin, and there are multiple different cache plugins that we could try and use. We actually already have, I think we already have one. So we actually have WP fastest cache already working on this particular site. So I'm just going to go and check what rules we have going here. Okay, so this is saying that we're using Cloudflare, so we should integrate that because they probably share some functionality. For example, they'll both do compression, they'll both do combinations and modifications of CSS. So I'm going to leave those particular settings. And then I'm going to submit that, and then I'm going to fill out the CDN integration. So I need an API key, and I believe I have one over here. So you actually need to hit get API token. So you actually need to hit get API token, and then I'm going to click view. And I have to add my Cloudflare password, get my key, go back over to integration window, hit next. Okay, it didn't work. I think I know why. I think I actually need to give it one of these bad boys. So I'm going to create a token, hit use template for WordPress. I'm going to leave all that standard, continue to summary, create token, copy that token, go back to WP fastest cache and enter that particular key instead. And these are just disabling certain things. On the Cloudflare side, I've just seen a message there that fast velocity minify needs to be deactivated. So I'm just going to head there. This plugin is a minification plugin, and it will be sort of contradicting the WP fastest cache plugin. So I am going to remove those. It strikes me that if you haven't already got this plugin on your site, it would be half decent idea to replicate these settings in your particular settings, specifically minification of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And JavaScript. The combination of JavaScript in the footer seems to be a paid option. So if you wanted to go a little bit further and pay some money, you could. I'm going to keep all these things. But then the other thing is that asset cleanup is another plugin which we have, which is doing similar things. And I just want to make sure that it's not contradicting. Yeah, so we're not doing any optimization with CSS over here because that's being handled by fastest cache, WP fastest cache. But what I might actually just do is have a look at these other settings. Strip comments and just make sure that these are as optimized as possible, just to get a little extra juice out of our plugin. Could probably do that. So just a few things to tweak in there, but you can go through and read all of these things. They do help a little bit to just tweak those settings. Okay, so we've got the cache enabled. I suspect that not much more will happen for our page speed just from doing that. But let's just retest to see if we did gain anything from tweaking those settings. I'm going to refresh that page as I do somewhat superstitiously. Okay, so we got it down to 38 from 42 requests by doing those tweaks, and that always helps. It's always nice to have a slightly smaller page. We didn't really go down on page size, so that's okay. And we actually saw a slight decrease over here. Like I say, and also Google says it here, values are estimates and may vary. So when you're running tests like this back to back, you can get a number that oscillates around, by 4 or 5 points. Also, we just turned off the cache briefly in Cloudflare, and that might also have an effect there. But that's just for convenience. We'll turn that back on and do a final test before we finish up this video, and then we'll be sure that we're getting all the benefits we can. Let's talk a little bit more about themes in regards to your particular site. Themes are usually something you buy and install, not usually something that you build yourself unless you're a developer. And some themes are made more efficient than others. So what I would suggest you do is kind of go back to the page here and just have a look at the files that are coming through from the theme. So there's 7 coming through from the theme. And if you're using Bootstrap, I would suggest that you could possibly find a theme which didn't use these. It kind of depends though, like if you're just using Bootstraps for like row and column sort of functionality, then I'd suggest that you don't really need to use a theme with Bootstrap. But if you're using a lot of different features with Bootstrap, then maybe you do need it. It just depends. The reason I say that is because Bootstrap can be kind of large sometimes, 191 kilobytes. And it's possible that you're not using a lot of that. It also depends on if the theme builder is using like a full set of CSS and JavaScript from Bootstrap or not. So I guess the moral of the story is to play around with different themes. So what you can do is go and search for a theme, and there's some on my site which I use, which are like very quick. If you go to betterdeveloperdocs.com and search for favorite themes, you'll find all the themes that I like. They're all very quick. But what you could do is find a theme go to themes, and then you can actually add a new theme, and then you could also preview that theme very quickly. So for example, I like one called Sinatra, which I'm going to install just to show you. And then I'm going to live preview so you can kind of see what it's going to look like. So it's like, you know, it's not too dissimilar. Lots of white space, smaller images. So, you know, you might be able to use this theme if you like it, because I see two opportunities here. That's a smaller image than the previous. So we could again go back and resize our images to be even smaller. That's probably only 200 pixels wide. So we could probably do that and get this number down a lot more. The other thing we could do is we could actually activate and publish this just very quickly, and then we could run a speed test on it and see if it's any faster. So this is what I mean by playing around with themes and just let's go back here. I just want to delete the cache after that. And then I'm going to go back over here and I'm going to refresh. We can see the new theme coming through here. And obviously the theme needs a little bit of setup, so I'm not going to permanently leave this theme on here. But what I am doing is just trying to test if a different theme will reduce my requests and or page size. So we're going to retest with the new theme in place. And for shits and gigs, I might as well retest this one as well. You can see there that we had 77 as the original, and I'm just going to hit analyze, and that will do another test for us. And then over here we can see, wow, okay, so we can see that we actually have a significant decrease in page size from 1.8 megabytes down to 458, which is great. And we even get 27 down from 38. So there's 11 requests saved just by changing the theme. So let's have a look at what this one's doing. Okay, so we're actually now getting a 98 out of 100 in performance. So I can tell now that I will go ahead and use this particular theme, and I suspect that I could get even better because I can go back to resizing the image and resize that even further, and I suspect that we could probably halve this amount here for images. So what I'm going to do for now is I'm going to actually remove this theme from being, I'm gonna make it inactive, because what I actually need to do is make sure that theme is set up properly with my Google Tag Manager and all of that sort of stuff. So changing a theme briefly just to check out, just to do a test and just see what it's like, is a good thing. However, you really need to set that up properly. So make sure you're your GTM, your Google Tag Manager's firing. Make sure all your SEO's good to go. Make sure that it works with the things that you need it to work with. So do some testing on your pages and things like that. But just briefly, we saw that other theme is much faster. So we're going to go with that eventually. But for now, we're going to go back to the old theme, and we're just going to carry on. We're just going to carry on optimizing stuff. So the next thing that we could do is upgrade the server. So the next thing that we could do is upgrade the server. In this particular case, I'm not going to do that because the server's fine. You'd only really upgrade the server if you were on a shared hosting plan, or maybe like a WordPress.com hosting plan, and you wanted to upgrade to like a dedicated server. And a dedicated server would be something that has all your own, like you have your own server computer instead of sharing it with other websites, and that will give you more resources to use. However, you only really need those resources if you say you're getting like 20,000 plus people a month on your site, or if you're doing a lot of like calculation, like if it was like a sales reporting page or something like that was doing like a lot of work with the database and calculating, sales figures over certain periods and stuff like that. You might warrant upgrading a server, but this particular site just has a couple hundred people a day and doesn't do anything really but be a blog. So I'm not going to do that, but we could if we wanted to. Reducing redirects. So if the page that we are trying to optimize has a lot of redirects, or one redirect even, then we will add slightly to our page load time, and that's something that is a little bit difficult to address after the fact. So if you've already got a redirect on the page that you're trying to optimize, then in some cases you can't really remove that redirect, because people who are used to going to the old site, like maybe they bookmarked the old URL, then changing that and redirecting people from the old URL to the new URL is kind of necessary if the page is a popular one. Like if there's a particular page which drives a lot of your business or views, then, and there's a redirect, you might not want to remove that redirect in order to get the page speed increase. Instead, you actually have to like sort of preempt your need for redirects and try not to do them. But yeah, you can, if it's a page which doesn't have a lot of business value or something like that, then you don't need to worry about changing, you don't need to worry about changing the redirect. You can just take it off and that's fine. The next thing is a few things that we've actually kind of covered. So enabling gzip compression, you'll see that as one of the things which Pingdom suggests, and you should do that. It's good, but when we add Cloudflare back on, it actually has a compression software as well. So we're just going to use that. But if you're not using Cloudflare for some reason, then you can actually do your own gzip compression. And the way that you do that varies. You can do that in your host server dashboard. You could do that with a plugin, for example, WP Fastest Cache, which is the plugin that we're using as a cache plugin that will also do gzip compression, and you can tackle that via a plugin as well. Minifying resources is a similar thing. You can tackle that with Cloudflare once that's been added back in, or you could do that with WP Fastest Cache. You can do that with Asset Cleanup plugin. So you've got options there. I'm going to let Cloudflare, or sorry, actually I'm going to let WP Fastest Cache do that. Then there's a few other things that you could do, and these are common things that you see in Google Page Speed Insights. So you see like eliminate render blocking JavaScript there, and it's saying we could save 0.59 seconds, which is quite significant. This is also saying reduce unused CSS. But seeing as we're getting 98 on this already, I'm not sure I'm going to go to the effort of doing these two, but I'll show you how to do them. Reducing render blocking JavaScript is basically what that means is that there's a JavaScript file which loads first before all of the page can be printed to the page so the user can use it. And that adds a little delay to the page speed in total. So what I would suggest you do is, if you're getting that remove render blocking JavaScript error and you want to address it, just open this up and see what these files are. Like I know that these are the cached. See that URL means that it's the cached CSS from the actual cache plugin, and the same for the JavaScript. And I need those two things, so I can't really get around that. I guess I could try and see if the cache plugin allows me to add that JavaScript at the end, which might be an option. So I'm just going to search for JS on this page. Yeah, so there is an option to combine it and add it to the footer. And so you could pay for the premium version if you wanted to do that, and that would mean that the JavaScript is loaded after the page is kind of already presented to the user, and that would remove that need. There are probably also programmatic ways to do this, to put that in the footer if you didn't want to add that to the footer, and you if you didn't want to pay for this plugin and you wanted to add it to the footer, you could probably find a way to do that. And I'll try and drop a link in the description below on how to do that. Haven't currently looked at that, but that would be a good thing to add in. So check the description. And then the next thing that this is saying is reduce unused CSS. So it's saying that in these two files, which are also from the cache, I believe, in these two files, there's CSS which is not used on this particular page, being the home page. So what you can do to alleviate that is there's actually a plugin. There's actually, here you go. There's actually it's not a WordPress plugin, it's a Chrome plugin, and it's called Coverage. And what it does is you can install it to run in your browser. And what it does is, here's some instructions here on how to use it, but it basically tells you with a green and a red marker which JavaScript and CSS is being used on that particular page. And then you can go about like editing the theme via a child theme in WordPress is best practice, to remove or maybe selectively load only the CSS that's required for that page. So that's one way to do that if you really need to. However, I would suggest that this is, given that I already have the ability to get to 98, then this method is, it's a lot of squeeze for not much juice. It's a lot of bang for not much buck. It's not much bang for a lot of buck. It's a lot of effort for the 2%. So I'm also gonna say that in WordPress this is not always advisable, because you're gonna have to create a child theme. You're gonna have to make sure that each page only gets the CSS that it needs, and that's going to be quite time consuming for you or your developer to do. So I would suggest that that's kind of a last ditch effort. But yeah, it is available to you if you want. So yeah, I think that's more or less all I'm going to do for now. What I might do is, just to show you what could be done with all of our things working, what we could do is let's turn on turn off our developer bypass cache feature, and then let's switch the theme to our fast theme just briefly while we run another test with all of our tweaks running, so that we can see what our sort of final result might be once we optimized all this stuff. So yeah, so Sinatra's active. So we then need to clear all our caches. I'm going to purge the cache from here. And then we're going to wait 30 seconds for everything to update properly. Okay, so we've purged our cache, and I'm going to reload the page, as I like to do, superstitiously. Okay, cool. So let's go back and retest this, huh? Let's get rid of this old one. Grab this URL. Okay, so when we retest, we can see that we've got around about the same page size. Slightly bigger, actually. We've got 27 requests and 27 requests, 1.8 and 2.25. Like I say, I don't worry about these particular numbers, because this kind of varies quite a lot depending on your internet speed, depending on how many people are using this service, all that sort of thing. So I just focus on the first principles here and here, and then also the scores that we're getting over here in diagnostics. So we can see that we're now getting a 99 over here, which is about as good as you can do. Obviously, we could go a little bit further and do some more if we wanted to completely remove this, but I'm pretty happy with 99 out of 100 on mobile and 100% on desktop. So what I'm going to do now is just turn the theme back off, and then I'm going to go away and fix this theme, or just check it so that I know that Google Tag Manager is working and all that sort of stuff. and then I'm going to come back and make it active. But for now, I'm just going to activate the old one. What you would do here is go to betterdeveloperdocs.com and search for child theme, and you'll see a blog post written about how to create a child theme to extend and alter this this theme properly before you go live, just to include all your GTM and stuff like that. So I'm just gonna clear all my caches again for the last time, and then that will eventually propagate to my site. And yeah, I'll come back, do the theme, and then we've got it all the way to 99. Thanks, guys. Catch you in the next one. Just as a quick addendum to the end result, I retested with the old theme, and it went from 99 to 74 just by changing the theme and reducing our page size and also the amount of requests. So in this particular case, we wouldn't have got as high as we did unless we actually, changed the theme as well. So yeah, theme was very important in this particular case, and probably as important in all cases. So make sure that you shop around for a theme which is very quick and doesn't have too many requests and isn't super heavy in terms of page load. If you go to Better Developer Docs and you search for themes, you'll see that there's a post there where I've written some of the themes that I like to use, and the theme that I used in the example that you saw before that was faster is called Sintra, sorry, and it's free, and you can download it here from this link. There's a preview there, and if you want to learn how to customize it, you can also click this link, and I'll take you through that. Involves making a child theme and stuff like that, but yeah, out of the box, it's very clean, lots of white space, and actually this website, Better Developer Docs, also uses the theme. So what you're viewing now on screen is that theme more or less out of the box. It's not customized too much. I've just added like a few tweaks, but you could take this and use it as a boilerplate for any of your themes that you want to build or use in the future. So yeah, good luck.